Aloha golfers, welcome to Golf in the Cosmos. This is episode number 6, Everything Mac OGrady and Morad. I'm Kevin Ralbovsky, and today I'm going to be discussing a video of Mac giving a clinic in 1991. Actually, it's a junior golf clinic, and assisting Mac are Terry Okura and Ken Brown. And these are members of Mac's program in his inner circle, and very accomplished practitioners and players at this time with Mac. And this is a very interesting video. Mac covers a lot of ground. It's a lengthy video, so be ready. Mac goes on some tangents, but very sincere, heartfelt, and a lot of great information in this video. This is also very closely attached to the 1986 model. So we're not getting into late Morad modeling yet. This is probably 90% 86 Mac OGrady Morad modeling. And so all these principles are going to be more associated with that than the later model. Also, I want to mention this, the wrath of Mac OGrady is coming. And so I got word that Mac has basically disapproved of these videos that I'm doing, and he's prepared to go to war with me, whatever that means. So just to clarify, my position is that, and Mac will make this same argument in the video upcoming, is that my goal here to create these videos is not to make money or to take advantage of anybody. It's simply to help people. So that is all that my goal of these videos is intended to do, simply to help golfers. I think that the 1986 model, the original Morad, needs to be defended. And I think that late Morad is hurting people. And it's not the intention of the original Morad project. And if I were in a time capsule and I went back to 1986 and I told Mac OGrady what his late model swing was and what he was teaching, I think Mac would be absolutely flabbergasted. It would be like someone saying to me, Kevin, when you're 70 years old, you're going to be teaching natural golf. Yeah, I don't see in what universe that would be possible. But that would be about the comparison. So you have to remember, Mac is not the principles, right? The principles are the principles. Mac may have helped discover some of these ideas and apply them, and of course he didn't do it by himself. He got help. And so we try to distinguish the persona, the ego, from the actual findings themselves. And it's the findings that are helpful to people. And Mac doesn't own them, it doesn't control them, right? So this is all fluctuated by the ego and, basically ideas of control, right? So basically I just want to come out, reach out to all those people that are interested, especially in the 86 model, and help people maybe rediscover that, because I think it was absolutely fantastic, and I think it was 50 years ahead of its time. And you will see, with some of the information that Mac talks about diet, hydration, a more, let's say, analytical, scientific approach to the swing. This is all come around, full circle. This is now definitely a much more modern approach, exercise, right? So Mac is talking about these ideas in this video, and of course, many other things as well. So regardless of what Mac does, Mac, I love you, I respect you, but I'm also, I think, in a position of obligation and I feel obligated to defend the original MORAD project, and that's really my intention here. And also, what you mentioned in this video up ahead is that people sometimes get victimized by teachers. I mean, this is a big part of the OGrady narrative, is that Mac felt like a victim, not intentionally by a teacher, but maybe because of, maybe misinformation or a misconnection with a teacher. Mac felt like a teacher, a specific teacher, sent him down a path which led to him losing his golf game. And then another teacher, specifically Homer Kelly, helped him resurrect it. We all have these journeys. And one thing that I kind of disagree with Mac about is that a motor skill is very hard to define as what is correct, right? Even though you might have some very scientific principles attached to the movement of the body, the alignment of the body, the geometry of the swing. You can come up with an ideal. You can help people move to that ideal. But actually what happens in motor skills is we are a product of our repetition, right? So if you look at the top 3 players that ever existed in terms of, let's say, money list on the PGA Tour, we're looking at Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Jim Furyk, right? You probably would look at, 3 very different swings. And a lot of their success is not so much on technique, but basically work ethic, and also, commitment to, being the best, and a strong belief system. And so these things are inherent in championship athletes. And of course, I would like to, and this is very similar in the yoga world, right, is that I want to emphasize, like Mac did in '86, is that the reason we want to have a model and we want to look similar, right, not have our own individual stamp on the swing so much, is that, the brain and the body have this connection, and you're either in alignment or you're out of alignment. You're either in balance or out of balance, right? So to define the movements a little more specifically certainly can help refine the swing in its entirety, right? And give you perhaps better performance. And of course, you can go down the rabbit hole as much as you want, but I like to keep things more in the general sense, and I think that's where the original concepts were basically, taking a look at the joints of the body, how they align best. The concept is you rotate around a fixed center, and your arms are pressed against the body. We have 90-degree wrist angle, 90-degree wrist angle on the finish, and it's a very symmetrical swing. And the eye the eye is attracted to that symmetry. And I think that's what gave Mac such a strong following. Also the fact that Mac hit the ball powerfully. So '86 MORAD is a power swing. So I think that's also very important to recognize, because a lot of the later MORAD modeling, a lot of you out there have complained about how truncated the swing got, and then people lost a lot of distance. So if you look at the original swing, it was full of power producing characteristics. And of course, we can go over that more later. But in the meantime, please enjoy this video. It's gonna have some controversial moments, and but it's quite entertaining. And again, you really see Mac's passion for teaching and for the game as a whole.
It was Homer Kelly who wrote a science book called The Golf Machine. You guys ever heard of it? I know you know of it. Yes? All right. Anybody hear of the book called The Golf Machine? Yeah. Okay. And Mr. Kelly was an engineer in Seattle that wrote a book on the, quote, engineering principles of the golf swing. And for its time and for its place, terrific book in many ways. But then once we started to do our own research with some of the universities around this nation and abroad, and up in Canada as well. And we found out that Mr. Kelly's book was seriously flawed, right? And so when I was 20 years old, that was in 1972, until 1979, 1980, I was just kind of wandering. And I had gone to a few teachers, read every book there was, and it seemed like I got kind of farther and farther away. And Mr. Kelly was helpful to get me back on the right track. But one of the things I did like about my relationship with Mr. Kelly was he told me that that he felt within a good 10 to 15 year time period, the next guru, the next teacher that everybody will have to learn by will be Mr. Science. And that if science tells us how to design golf balls and how it's going to fly through the air, science also tells us how to design golf clubs. Science tells us how the human body is designed. The next question is, when is science going to have a platform to tell us some of the scientific rules by which we can design our golf swings? And one of the things I've done with this research project is in the last 6 years, I've funded almost $1 million into it with my own money. And why did I do it? Because I wanted to, we all have our own little obligations to pay back to society, whether it's through the game of golf, our country, the planet, or the human race. My little contribution through the game of golf is to do this research project so finally, once and for all, the next generation of kids will not get victimized not only by their own ignorance, but that of the teachers as well, so that those teachers cannot misdirect them. So other kids who are very talented at a very young age will not be misdirected and perhaps lose a potential great career. For me, there was, when you go to the qualifying school I did for 17 times, it was an unbelievable experience. And the only reason why I kept trying, because I knew somewhere way down deep inside me there was something there. And it was, the happiest day of my life in my career was to finally qualify to get on the PGA Tour, to have that card, and to have a chance to go out there and test your skills, and to go across the social horizons and meet all the players, travel abroad, and it's been fun, many, many ways. But my little contribution that I'm going to try to pay back to golf is that I want to make sure, in whatever way I can, that these next generation of kids, if they want to look at things objectively, here's a certain science that tells us these are the rules. And because today, almost all the pros, everybody has conflicting theories. The question is, who's right, who's wrong? And we all get victimized by it. And so we hope in the future, maybe the next 3 to 5 years, that there'll be a National Institute of Golf set up so that the scientific and medical community will be able to put a stamp on who's legitimate and who is not. And so that if you send your son to, let's say, a teacher, you know that there's a certain certification or licensing that has gone on, and that he's qualified to be explaining his theories and hypotheses. And for instance, like for some of you kids, you all have regular teachers or just learn by feel, or why don't you tell me? So? And when you learn by yourself, who do you imitate? Do you read the books? Do you watch the videotapes? What do you learn by? Okay. Any of your favorite players? Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much.
What? How many is there? Like
There's 10 positions.
10.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to hit about 4 or 5 balls together here, and I'm not going to explain anything first, except we're just going to go through some of the positions. Terry, why don't you get on the right over there? Okay. You have 7 iron, okay? Yeah. Okay. And we're going to hit a few balls, and I'm going to do a couple of crazy things here, and so just watch for a few moments. Okay? Okay, let's go P1 to P2. Go ahead. Okay, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, back to 4, over to 9. Okay, back to 4, back to 2, back to 1. 1 to 4, 4 to 9, back to 4, back to 2, back to 1. All right, ready? All right, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, down to 6, out to 7, around 8, up to 9, and down to 10. Okay. What this is, you see, when you watch it, you see a certain symmetry, that there's a certain alignment that the body's going to maintain. And then there's a plane that what the arms are going to maintain. Then there's also a plane that the club shaft's going to maintain as it moves around the body. Okay, and so one of the things that makes golf very difficult is Terry, once you guys line up together, be next to each other, is take your dress position. Here's why golf is a difficult game. Is if you see that if I stand up perfectly straight like this, you have my neck, my upper part of my body's in a straight line and my legs are in a straight line. If a golf ball is on a tee like this, you could swing and the centrifugal force will throw the, let's say, golf club on a straight line like a baseball bat, and you'd have a flat horizontal plane as such like this. But the problem with golf is the ball's on the ground. And so if I stand up perfectly straight like this, my center of gravity is established between my feet here. But the moment you start bending your waist, now your center of gravity starts shifting out towards your toes. And the question is, in golf, you have to learn to rotate around a fixed center. And that's kind of hard to do. It's very hard to do. And so one of the questions when I asked the kids how old were they when they started to play the game of golf, the research is shown in the studies of the neurosciences, and neuros means nerve cells, brain cells. If you don't start playing the game of golf before age 18, there's only been one, maybe two players ever got on the PGA Tour who developed to be very good players. It's like a master musician, a pianist or something trying to become a virtuoso or a real specialist starting after age 18. You must start at a young age. And that was one of the first questions we asked in the research. And we found out the reason why is because after age 18, you don't have the same input into the same brain cells that you do at age 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16. And the reason why is because when you set up to the golf ball, there's been an old cliche in golf that says you have to keep your eye on the golf ball. It's plural. You have to keep both eyes on the ball because you have to maintain depth perception. And so when a golfer does set up to the ball and he has both eyes focused on onto the ball, the image of the ball, when he goes to the top of his swing like this, if you, Troy, once you stand here and once you put a club, let's say just towards my head here, okay? If I take the club to the top of my swing and I come all the way in my follow through like this, my head, you do not want this to be changing at all. The old cliche says keep your eye on the ball and keep your head down. Yes, very true. Because if your head does come up, if I'm looking at this golf ball through the center of my vision here as such, if I start to come up this way out of my waistband like here, now my vision is going to shift into this direction. So the eyes have to rotate and downward, put the image of the ball back into the center of the eye. And if you do that during the golf swing, if you're moving all over the place, the body and the brain has to make major compensation. It makes it very, very difficult. That's why, let's have you set up to the ball, go ahead. That's why when they set up to the ball like this, if I tell them to go P1 to P2, okay, let's go 2 to 4, okay, 4 to 6, okay, over to 8, all right, up to 9, all right, then down to 10, okay, thank you. What we had to do is we had to break down the golf swing into various positions or checkpoints. That if the joints and if you lose your center of gravity point while you're swinging the club, if the hips slide too much or the knees slide too much, or do the hands go down the line or do they go inside the line, okay? And the rules are you have to maintain a certain center of gravity point while you're swinging the club. If you look at the great players that Golf Society says, this guy's got a great swing, a Sam Snead or a Gene Littler. What looks good about it? For instance, let me ask the kids, who do you think has a great golf swing? Or a good golf swing? What?
Norman.
Norman, okay. Sir? Ballesteros. Okay. Curtis? Ballesteros. What do you like? Who has a good swing? Come some kids from Canada. Who do you golf swings? Who do you like over here? What?
No Norman.
Right here.
Woosnam.
Woosnam. All right. How about you, sir? Anybody?
Arnold. Palmer.
But I can't putt.
Neither can I.
See, now the question is, watch. You ready?
Say that.
All right. What's good about Ballesteros' swing? Let's hear it. You guys like Ballesteros. What looks good about it?
It's nice and fluid.
All right. What do you mean by fluid? What does fluid mean?
He doesn't jump at it. He just kind of.
Okay, so
Smooth.
nice and smooth. Nice smooth. Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is now, how do you define what is smooth? All right. What is smooth? It means it's centered, not
Yeah.
moving around.
Yeah.
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, see, the thing is that if now, since we're going to really have fun with these kids for a second. Let's have you stand up for a second. Come on. Let's have about 3 or 4 of you. Come on up. Okay. Let's have you stand right here. And by the way, we need a couple girls in there. A couple of junior golfer girls. You guys girls play? No. We need a couple more. Are there any more girls out here? Any more? Tom? Any more girls? One more.
I see some girls.
How about Livy? Livingston.
Yeah.
Bob.
Junior golfer?
Okay. The number one principle when you're in the golf swing is posture. How to set up to the golf ball so that you can maintain your number 2 is balance. So we're going to do a balance drill right here to check these kids to make sure that we're going to see how balanced they are. Okay. Let's have everybody stand in a straight line and kind of stand at attention with your arms to your side. Okay. All right. And you have to do me one favor. All of you are going to have to close up your ears as hard as you can because I'm going to say something. I want everybody to hear this. Okay? Press them very tight. All right. Now, here we go. What we're going to look for here is I'm going to ask them to take their right foot off the ground, and then we're going to see how much their shoulders are going to teeter-totter. And then I'm going to have them look at this golf club, and I'm going to say, I want you to have your eyes follow this club like this. You can see how many of them are going to be moving their heads around. Okay. The kids that are really talented, their heads will stay still, and only their eyes will move a little bit. Those people whose heads are just moving just a couple degrees, you'll see them start teeter-tottering really bad, right? The second thing we're going to do is have them close their eyes. You can see how well they balance through the inner ear. Because you have 3 balance centers. The eyes, center of the eye. 2 is the inner ear. And then the 3rd is the muscles in the body. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, stand attention, arms to your side. We're going to take your right foot off the ground out in front of you like the A. All right. And let's have all of you focus on this golf club right here. Okay, ready? All right. Focus on this club right here. Right?
Top of it?
No, you follow it. Right? Okay. You go ahead and follow it. Ready? Here we go. You see?
He's low for the tournament.
Let's try it again one more time. Ready? Focus again. All right. Okay. All right. Now, let's try it one more time. Ready? All right. All right. Let's have you cover your ears one more time. All right. Now, I'm gonna do this one more time. Now, the kid at the end over here, he was perfect. Okay, right? Perfect.
In the middle too.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
The one who's moving is leading the tournament next.
You can fight.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, now this time, focus again. Take your right foot off the ground. And you are going to move your head, not your eyes this time, so follow this. Okay. Ready? Here we go. Go.
I think I need some more room.
All right, one more time. Ready? Now this time, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Okay, pretty good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Okay.
Not gonna smack
The way the body is designed, what we did with this research was try to bring in all the common denominators that ties us all together. Well, we all started from the egg and the sperm. We all have 46 chromosomes. We all have the same amount of joints, same balance centers, same basically the amount of muscles, etc., etc. So neurologically and physiologically, we're all designed the same way, regardless if you're a woman or a man. If you get taller in the game, it gets very difficult because you're fighting physics. It gets more and more difficult. The ideal size is probably about 5'4" to 5'6". So Woosnam size is really good because you just have a lower center of gravity and it makes it much easier. So this exercise was to show one point, and that was on balance. And the question is, what is balance? Because they say in the golf swing. So we're going to show you some of the alignments that how we set up to the ball to make sure that let's both take out a sandwich. You got a sandwich, and then we need two drivers. All right. And we're going to explain the alignments of the kids that you have to maintain. Yes.
Does Woosnam do what you do? Like P1 and all that?
No. I mean, Woozy is a friend of mine, and see, the reason why we broke it down to the various positions was so that in the golf swing, P7 over to P8, and let's say you're playing a golf tournament, I can't see you on film, but you can articulate to me saying that, well, when I go through positions P6, 7, and 8, I feel as if my weight's moving towards my toes, okay? That gives me a representation of where the club shaft is at those various positions. So in a second, I'm going to explain what the positions are, and basically the position just explains where the club shaft is during its orbit as it moves around the golf club. I mean the body. Okay, go ahead, sit down. Okay, here they have a sandwich here, and one of the points we're going to do here is to take your desk position. Go ahead. All right. It's very important here. Some of the checkpoints is to make sure that the first one is about his neck tilt here, and that is Terry. Let's have you stand on this side of the camp right here, so people see on a straight line. I think that way. Okay. Is that if he's looking straight down towards the ball like this, his neck tilt cannot be up here like this, because if he has it up, now his eyes, if he stands at a center of attention, his eyes are looking straight out. If he bends bend your knees 20 degrees, okay? Now if he bends at the waist 20 degrees, that his vision would be over here. Now he has to bend his neck 20 degrees to put the ball into the center of the visual field. If you set up to the golf ball like this with your chin really high, like some teachers have said over the years, get your chin up, right? The problem with this, if your chin gets up, now it sends the impulses into the inner ear, and the inner ear says, I want the shoulders to move horizontal to the ground. So this is why the neck has to be tilted forward like this, so that when the shoulders do tilt, they'll be rotating on the same axis as you set up at address. You can set up at address, bend at the waist like this, and have your chin up like this, and your shoulders want to turn this way. They don't want to turn as the axis like this. And so it's really important, this posturing is when they set up to the ball, to make sure that this head-neck setting, it cannot, once you establish in the address position, it cannot fluctuate throughout position 1 to 4, down to 6, 7, all the way going to 8. Then as you go up to P9, the head will rotate like this, but basically outside of the head, the alignment as it's vertical to the ground, you cannot change it this much. So let's have you set up again. Okay? So we're going to make sure his neck axis is properly lined up, all right, from this view right here. The second point is that we have to make sure that he's bent properly at the waist. He's got a wedge. He's going to probably bend maybe at the waist, maybe 30, 35 degrees or so, 30 degrees. If he stands more upright like this, with a wedge like this, right? Go ahead, sit up, okay. The more this gets like this, the more the shoulders want to turn this way, all right? and there's conflict that goes into the inner ear, and that's going to change the path of the hands and the arms and et cetera, et cetera. Do it again one more time. Okay. So if this head neck setting is the number one checkpoint. 2 is how the body is tilted from the waist. 3 is to make sure that the knee flex. These knees are almost lined up with a wedge here, where the right shoulder will be just about an inch outside the right knee. Okay. And the reason why, if he straightens his legs out, let's straighten your legs out. Okay. If you put your weight dead in the center of your feet. Okay. Okay. If your legs get too straight, now he has too much of his weight moving this direction, so if I just barely push on him, he's going to lose his balance. This is just at the dress position. So if the legs get too straight during the swing, you're going to feel this inner movement going all over the place. And for the kids can get away with it, but as you get older, and most of the people did not start golf at a young age, it's even that much more important that they maintain these various checkpoints. All right, let's do it again. Okay. So once his neck is properly lined up, then the torso, then the knee flex. Then the fourth thing we're going to check here is to make sure his arms are vertical. They're in a straight line vertical to the ground. If the arms get too far away like this, then what happens is it pulls the center of gravity towards the toes too much. And secondly, it makes the left wrist uncock too much. And if the left wrist uncocks too much, then you're going to get too much hand rotation. And then it's going to flip at the top, and when you come back to impact, you're going to have to get your wrist fully uncocked again. And it's very, very difficult to time, especially the older you get. Go ahead. Okay. So these are about 3 or 4 checkpoints here. Let's see you go to the top of your swing here. Okay. All right. One of the checkpoints here is, let's go a little bit farther up to P4, right? Is you notice that his left arm here is parallel. It's a little bit short of being parallel to his shoulders here. Same thing with Terry here, the top of the swing, right? If this left arm gets up like this, it's going to change the whole plane so that you cannot rotate so much inside out. You're going to get more linear, and it's more of an arm swing. And one of the points that we all want to try to do is transfer the energy from the body through the arms into the hands and out to the club head. And that most crucial point of that is when the club shaft is parallel to the ground, right here. At this point, the hips have to take over and bring everything around from P6, 7, 8. Why don't you guys go to P6? Okay. Here at P6, P7, over to P8. Okay. Let's do it again. Back to P6. Okay. 6, 7, 8, go. Okay. One more time. Okay. 6, 7, 8, go. Okay. And okay, so let's start over again. All right. Let's go from P1. Now watch this for a second. Now see his head tilt here? Now go from P1 to P4. You notice how the head did not waver up and down? And it's called, this is a good golf swing. The first checkpoint is with how the body is aligned up. Go ahead, set up, right? So when he goes from P1 to P4, the top of his swing, you did not see any upward or downward movement of his head or his upper part of his body, okay? That's number 1 point here. Now do it again. All right. Number 2, you did not see an upward downward movement or a forward or backward movement of his head going like this. And he went up this way, okay? You didn't see him go up and down like this. You did not see the head go backwards towards the heel, then back onto the downswing, okay? One more time. And then the third point here is you don't see his head going back or his body shifting to the right and then to the left in the downswing. A good golf swing, well, you will not see any of the upward and downward movement, forward or backwards, or for his view right here, a left to right or right to left movement. You're trying to rotate around a center of gravity point that he sets up at the address position. And let's have all 3 of us lined up. Okay, I want you to stand here, turn over here. So one of the rules is that when you set up here, you have this center of gravity point that when you take it up to P4 like this, go to P4, and we're going to go over to P9. Ready, go. Okay. You see how tight the rotation is, and there's no wavering. I mean, not even a couple inches or so, because if it does, then the brain has to make its compensations. And so this was the beginning of the framework on what is a good golf swing. Let's have you set up again one more time. Okay. Let's have you go. Terry, why don't you come in here close to Ken again? All right. All right, ready? Go ahead. All right. Now, when you watch these kids, you watch them to see if their head's going to fluctuate Just a little bit. All right, ready? Okay, go 1 to 4. Okay, 4 to 9, go. All right, one more time. Okay, 1 to 4. Okay, 4 to 9. All right, and it's the same principle if you get over and do the exact same thing left-handed. If you set up here and your neck tilts are properly, if you go 1 to 4, it's the same exact rules again, right? Because if you lose your balance during the swing, this makes the game much more difficult. It's a tough enough game just trying to putt the ball in the hole. Okay. Now we're gonna hit some balls here. Why don't you guys grab a 7? All right.
Doesn't Curtis move off the ball real bad? He has a lateral.
Curtis has a lateral move. It's not as bad as he used to, but one of the things you'll notice that one of the common denominators of most of the players, they all maintain, are these tilts. Okay, because if you, as you get older, once you get past age about 30, anywhere from 33 to 35. 35 seems to be the breaking point. If you get the Jerry Hurds, the Bruce Devlins, the Greer Jones, they just got about 35 years old, and all of a sudden, bingo, bang. Same thing happened to Tom Watson. All right. What happens to him? Well, the central nervous system starts to degenerate. It's very true, and you know, listen, I'll share an idea with you about Trevino. I don't drink alcohol, but Trevino told me, he says, OGrady, he said, listen, he says, you have a lot of talent in this game, but he says, every great player drinks. I hate to say that, but it's true.
You got to get on the sauce. That's all.
And he says, listen, he says, look at me. He says, me, for 10 years, he says, every great player has 10 years out here. And during that 10-year period of time, you have 10 years to win the majors. He says, for me, he says, when I drank for 10 years, they said that he drinks maybe a beer once in a while now, but during his prime from 28 to 38, he was doing a lot of saucing. And he said, here's the reason why, because in this competitive level, there is so much stress. There's so much stress. Example I could give you would be like, we all know about how when the shuttle blew up, okay? But if you can imagine if every time when you go to play in the competition, when you're in the heat, and the countdown goes, T-minus 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, right? The people who are watching, they just say, here's a spaceship, it's going to take off, it looks great, they've done it so many times before. But to the individual, they know all the variables involved. They know all the buttons, they know all the problems, they know what and the brain is updating all those, it's called situational reality. So as they're inundated with the data from the environment, like when Seve hit that ball in the water at Augusta on April 13th, 1986, right? But, well, every time he comes back in the same situation, he relives those traumas again. So, if you can imagine, you go to the launch pad, you're on the shuttle, it takes off, and all of a sudden, you know, that blew up at 71 seconds into the flight. But the moment you hit the ball and you see that ball taking off like this, there are a lot of times you feel as if you're sitting on that shuttle and it blows up, okay? And you come crashing down and you hit that water, but then all of a sudden NASA's there to pick you up 2 seconds later and take you right back to the launch pad again. And you got to go hit the ball again. I'm telling you what, unless you've ever been in the situation, it's unbelievable. And you know, as a professional, there are a lot of times, let's say this is a player, Peter Jacobson, right? I don't like Peter. Okay. And some of you kids are worried, I'm just teasing, but let's say Peter's a guy, I don't like Peter, right? Maybe for a political reason or something, I don't like him. But boy, when we're coming down last 9 holes and it's his day playing the great golf, every player gets off on it. Every player loves to watch a player play great golf when it's his turn. And you may hate a guy with a passion, but on that level, when you bring the ship home and you are the winner, everybody respects you and loves you for a moment. That's why there's a certain peer pressure. The players always say, my peers say I'm honored, I'm worthy of this award. That really means something to them because they know all the variables that are going on. So the example I want to share here is that you have to keep going back and back and back and ride that shuttle. And when you finally get to a point that you're able to perfect some of these rules and be successful at it, it's very special. Now I forgot what I was wanting to say. Okay. What's that? What? No, before that, before later. What?
Drinking.
Okay, right. Okay, so. Okay. Is that what Trevino said was that when you drink, there's a certain emotional experience you go through. He called it the emotional etch-a-sketch. It cleans the record. Next morning, everything's all right. No. 10 years down the road, okay. It's I'm gonna tell you something. I've had a couple guys say to me that you say after 10 years you'll drink, you'll chase the girls, and you'll start taking drugs. And but there's a lot of pressure. It's unbelievable. And so the guys have to find a way to liquidate that or to find some way to get rid of the stress. And Fuzzy doesn't drink? Fuzzy drinks too. Okay. And but you have about 10 years, and after about 35 years old, 36 around there, they start dropping like flies. But one thing you see today is the new generation of kids, they're not drinking. I do not know of one kid that's on the hard sauce. I've only heard maybe one story of all the players ever, maybe even remotely fooling around with drugs. And that sense the game, the new generation is really good about that, okay? And, but the kids change as they get older and things, they get under a lot of pressures and there's millions and millions and millions of dollars at stake. And they'll make any sacrifice they can for that 10-year period of time to touch immortality and get in the history books by winning the majors. And but there's a lot of pressure. So this all started about the degeneration of the central nervous system. Go ahead, sir.
Well, related to that degeneration of the nervous system, what edge did Irwin have in the playoff?
I mean with Mike Donald. Just experience. You've been through it. And Mike has won one time. He's been labeled as kind of a journeyman out on the tour. And but this is what makes golf so special is that anybody on the professional ranks can beat anybody on any day. You can go back and look at history and see how Jack Fleck beat Ben Hogan. There's been other prime examples of it. Larry Mize beat Greg Norman and Seve, if you remember that, in that playoff, which is incredible, right? Was it Seve and Norman, right? And
so Irwin's nerves held together for 2 weeks in a row. Is that what it is?
Yeah, but see, there's a new thing going on in the tour now, and it's going to be an issue that's going to have to be seriously addressed in I think, the next couple of years, and that is that you all know that in the Olympics, the runners cannot be taking any kind of anabolic steroids. We know that, right? And what about the pistol shooters? When they line up, they're on the skis, and all of a sudden they're ready to aim at the target. Anybody know of a drug that they take?
Beta blockers.
Beta blockers, right? So the beta blockers, it suppresses the adrenal flow. This is one of our research, part of our research project was I did a funding at UCLA 3 years ago with the Department of Neurology there to do a survey. We sent it out to the LPGA, the USGA, and the tour players to find out, do a questionnaire as to who's taking the beta blockers. And there was a pretty good percentage of them. And this is why a year ago the RNA in Europe said that at any time anybody who files their application for the British Open, if they want to take a urine analysis, they had to take it. And now I'm not insinuating that Mr. Irwin is taking that.
What is a beta blocker?
Pardon me?
What is it?
It's a drug that is taken to suppress the adrenal flow in the body. It suppresses the adrenaline to get all charged up.
So it controls it.
Slows your heartbeat.
Yes.
Is it expensive?
And you got people that have certain cardiovascular disorders.
Where can we get this? Is it expensive? Yeah.
By tomorrow.
Out there in the parking lot, the brown car.
It's dangerous, let me tell you
And
that.
an ice cream
They
truck
are.
in the
Watch,
corner.
no kidding. Watch, guys. They're dangerous.
They are?
Yeah. If you remember Hank Gathers, remember the basketball player guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was
He was
taking it?
prescribed a certain drug because he had a certain abnormality of his heart. He had a virus that got in there, and over a 3 or 4 month period of time, the virus had done some structural damage to the heart. He was prescribed to take the beta blockers, and what it did, he was taking almost 400 milligrams. And you just feel like this if you're taking the drugs. All right. You may not have your heart beating up so much, but you ain't got no energy left, right? But the problem is, as you get older, I know at least 10 to 15 players on the regular tour right now are taking the drugs.
Is it addictive?
No, it's not addictive. And some of those, a couple of the guys are some of the top players. True story. And so that's another issue. I mean, you kids are really getting it. Okay. But, pardon me?
Hey, don't you think that hinders your performance, though, taking those beta blockers? Because
No, as you get older, to the guys, they don't care. They're living in the moment. They want to do it right now. And but you take Irwin. I mean, Hale is. If you look at his weight structure, it's always stayed the same. It's never fluctuated. He has a good temperament to play the game. He's serious, but then he's not obsessive. He has a good pass record. His mechanics aren't quote the best, but he knows what he's doing. Keeps the ball in play, and kind of went through a little bit of midlife crisis. Kind of fluctuated for about 4 or 5 years. Really didn't do anything because it's tough. You get everything you ever want. You got all the money, and then all of a sudden he's waiting for. He's in purgatory, waiting for the seniors tour to start. So he got about 5 or 6 years to wait, and. But he kind of dwelled a little bit into golf course architecture, and it's funny, if you remember 1979, Tom, you might remember this one, there was a player, Lou Graham. Graham went from 76 to 79, he didn't hardly do anything. After he won the US Open, beat John Mahaffey in the playoff. All of a sudden, 3 weeks in a row, he won 3 straight tournaments, right out of the blue. Nobody knew why. To this day, he doesn't know why. And this is how funny the game is. There are sometimes you go to play and everything is perfect. You kids will know this. You're for 15 holes, everything's perfect. Then all of a sudden, you can only hit 1 shot, and all of a sudden you hit it offline, and you start hearing all the voices in your head, and the spiders start coming up, and before you know it, I mean, you don't know where the ball's going, right? And this is what makes the game special, and it's a challenge. But the problem is when you're young, the sword of golf will go in there and it will wham, and it will mutilate you, and you'll start bleeding and hemorrhaging, but 2 seconds later you forget about it. But when you're older, okay, when you're older, you somehow remember those things, all the bad things. And the reason why that is, there's a part of the brain called the limbic system that stores the emotional memory circuits. And when you stand over every shot, all the brain does is update past situations similar to that. So that as the older you get, the brain, you are just reliving all the past negative traumas unconsciously. The beta blockers suppress that. And somehow you're able to stay a little bit more in the moment. And but it's a serious issue that I think will be addressed in the next couple of years. I certainly hope it will be. Right? So this is why our research is to try to allow science to be the platform to go in and try to tell us some of the rules how to swing a golf club. And that's what we're going to get into right now here. Okay? Why don't you sit up again here? All right. I'm going to watch Kent do one swing here. Why don't you sit up again? Start watching this swing. Okay. Go to P4. Go down this one. Go to P4. Terry, right? All right. Now, you see where I have this club here, right here, where he's at P4? He's going to go, all right, let's go, go to P9, go. Okay? Now, you see how his right shoulder returned almost to the same point the right shoulder was, right? Now, if you notice here again, he's bent at the waist about 30 degrees, but when he goes to the top of the swing, he's still bent forward 30 degrees. He comes down to impact, he's still bent 30 degrees, but after impact, he's going to be bent back almost 20 degrees. So this first tilt's going to shift 50 degrees. So he's going to go from here to there, but set up again. But he's going to make that change here, but his head's not going to change at all. Do it again. Ready? Go to the top. Okay. Top this one. And come all the way around. Go. Okay. So here, now this time, why don't you stay forward 30 degrees and come through impact. throw his center of gravity and his weight too much in this direction, right? Okay. One more time. All right. So how the shoulders rotate, you do not want them to be fluctuating too much. You do not want to be set up to the ball like this, and then take it to the top and come up this way, and then try to come around like this. Right? Don't want to do that. All right? But here's the other problem is as you get older, and we have trouble kind of teeing the ball up sometimes. All right? You see the person bend over like this, they're kind of get back up a little bit, right? Well, as people get older, the body becomes less flexible. And the first thing that happens is that the brain, the people aren't bending over as much with their head. They're kind of going down here like this, you see? That's why it's very important to maintain very good flexibility. That's why it's so much easier for the kids to learn when they're younger. If you start the game when you're older, these certain neck tilts that you have here like this, if you start when you're younger, you can maintain them very easily. But when you get older, everybody will, they'll set up to the ball with their head tilted the proper way. Then they'll take it up like this. Then when they come to impact like this, they'll bring the head back in an upright position. You do not want the head to be straight vertical to the ground. You don't want the shoulders parallel to the ground. And you have to stay tilted like this. And the reason why is because the ball's on the ground. And that's how you have to learn to set up like this and direct the momentum. Sorry about that. Okay. You want to be able to direct the momentum. If you're tilted forward like this, to take it up and hit the ball and still maintain the same tilts for the neck and the shoulders. And then there's also rules how the feet move the knees and how the knees move the hips like this, so you maintain your center of gravity. If you slide too much like this, you'll shift your center of gravity too much. And as you shift it, you'll make compensations to other parts of the body, and you don't have this real good rotation coming around like this. One of the advantages, or you should today on the tour that you'll see, is that little by little by little, when you watch television next time, you watch the players now. I mean, almost 99% of the guys are doing this. Set up the ball. Try to do the same thing. All right. Let's take a practice one. Let's not hit it. Okay. 99% of the guys are doing this right now. Ready? Okay. Go to the top of your swing. Okay. You'll see that there's hardly any player sitting here going like this. Right? Nobody's doing that. Okay. Do it again. And then go 1 to 4, and go over to P9. Go. Everybody's tilted. Everybody's got their right shoulder outside their right knee like this. Next time you watch it on TV, if you've done any telecast lately or taped it, go back and look at it. Because we've worked with about 40 of the touring pros for the last 6 years. We started in 1985. There are some players I work with studying the golf machine about 83, 84. But there's about 40 of the players we work with. And did you ever notice this kind of a phenomenon that's gone on the last 3 or 4 years? Every time a player does well, he's got to go in the press room or on television and mention his teacher's name. You ever notice that? Yep. Why do they do it? Why? I can't hear you. What? What? Why do they do it? Anybody like to comment? What? Yeah. Well, it's a marketing tool. Okay. And the thing is that they're all doing it, every one of them, okay? And what's sad about it is that there's been some teachers, every two years there's a new guru. They come up, they get on the pedestal, 2 years later their theories become outdated, and the neurosis is transferred to another guru. And every 2 years there's another one, right?
How do you get in line for that?
Pardon me?
How do you get in line for that?
Come up with some new theories. Have one of these kids go out and win a U.S. Amateur, and before you know it, they're all knocking on your door, okay? And so the question is, why is that? Why does that take place? Why are these guys always plugging their teachers? Well, it's because everybody, these teachers, most of them, I'm not saying all of them, most of them, they want to get rich. They know it's their only opportunity perhaps to make the money. And something happens to them because a lot of these guys can't break 85. It's really incredible. And know, I can start naming some of the guys. I'm not going to do that, but they can't break 85. And somehow they found a kid at the right time and he played well. Before you know it, the kid's telling every time they go in the press room, so-and-so did this for me, and so-and-so did that to me, right? Well, some of these teachers who have worked with some of these kids, and some of the fathers have spent thousands, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on some of their kids to learn this teacher's, quote, theories. Only to have a year and a half later, the teacher changes theories. Now what happens to the kid? What happens to the money the father spent? Nobody's saying nothing. There should be some malpractice suits filed. I'm serious, okay? Right? And the worst part about it is these kids get victimized like I did at age 20. And that's sad. To know that all the time and all the investments and everything else are wasted, they're thrown away. If you send your son to school at the University of Edinburgh or USC, if they're going to learn mathematics or physics, there's the same universal principles there. You may have a different personality of the teachers that may accentuate the student to want to learn more, etc., etc. But the basic framework is the same. So when are we all going to start to want to look at this stuff more objectively and try to let science begin to be the textbook by which we're going to learn this stuff? And that's what we've tried to do for the last 6 years. And every one of our players who has, the original 7 guys that we started off with was myself, Jody Mudd, Kenny Knox, Chip Beck, Steve Pate, Dan Forsman, and Tom Siegman. We had all gone to, I think, a total of like 58 qualifying schools. And what we wanted to do was to see how long it would take before these guys, who were like, quote, mosquito players, how long before they would take off and start developing their careers. And it took, some guys took off right away, some guys took 2 or 3 years later. And one of the rules was that we did with the research project was we made sure the guys never went to the press room and mentioned our names. We absolutely enforced that rule. Because it was a scientific study for 5 or 6 years if you're doing science, you have to maintain certain rules of ethics, and and you don't get into cheap commercialism. And privately, I would like to sit here for this and have this forum to start blasting some of these teachers who have the players who have come to us. We've given them the research, we've helped them hundreds of hours. They've taken their research and their videotapes back to their teachers who write for the golf magazines. And some of these guys have already come out with their own books before we even published our material. And there's been a couple books already knocked off, one specifically that has knocked off our stuff 99%. And within the next 60 days, there's going to be a lawsuit filed. Okay. And our deal is with our research stuff, we're not trying to commercialize off this to say we want to get rich. Our intent is to give the information to those consumers, those kids, those teachers, the club pros who want to look at the information objectively, know that there's been a real good ethical study behind the project for 5 or 6 years. And 2 is that if they want to really make a valid contribution and look at this stuff through science, here's the research stuff. And my personal opinion is the PGA pros themselves on the tour are a bunch of guys who are very self-centered. They have a lot of money. They're successful, and the majority of them only care about themselves. And that's a reality that you don't learn until you actually get out there and realize and experience it yourself. I respect their talents and everything else, but the way they conduct themselves, I don't like that. But to me, who I hold with the highest esteem, as a kid, I always looked up to the Nicklauses and the Palmers and all the guys, and I just said, God, I couldn't wait to be with these guys, right? Only to actually touch base with them and be a part of their society. And I don't like it. I swear I don't like it. But now I've come back and I've looked and I've realized what makes this game so great is not only the public that supports the game, but it's the club pros. This is their life service. They're going to spend their whole life helping you guys, trying to do this. They're in the trenches every day, running the tournaments, putting up with the different personalities at the clubs, right? And they've got their own private life to live. And they've got this limited base of a certain salary. And they got to put up with stuff. Okay? Okay, I'm not kidding, right? I couldn't do it. Yes, I could. But these are the guys that I really respect today. And I say that in all sincerity. And this is why our research programs are intended to get the information out to the club pros. Very minimal cost, brought into the institution, licensed, certified, registered, so that when their consumers come to them, they know that they know the basic rules of what the team of scientists are saying. These are the basic rules. And you use it to the next generation of kids, you get it out to the touring professionals, and you see if it works. Now for 6 years, we've never had one player ever regress. Everybody always took off. Wham! Everybody got better. And that's is very, very meaningful for most of us. And but one of the tough things to do with this program, and we'll get in a minute to start hitting these balls, is that it's very hard to find good people who are sincere, who will not have to make money first. It's very hard. And so I hope some of these thoughts kind of incubate a little bit. So next time you watch the guys play, and you'll be starting to read a little bit more literature next January. We have a series of 6 books coming out, about 5 videotapes, and we're covering all the bases. And make sure you put your seatbelt on, because there's one book that talks about the whole insiders, what the whole tour life is like and everything else. And I hope it'll be very informative, very educational for you. But most of this science research stuff is targeted for the kids, so that if they're going to spend their careers at this game or go to college, within 2 years, all the college programs will have the stuff we have out. So that when you go to school, we hope there'll be a class that you can take and get credits for, what we call golfology. So you know how the eyes work and how the ears work and how these various joints work, so that when you go out to play, there's a certain universal application. So, okay. Let's hit some balls now.
Give it to just gonna be flies.
We're going to go and hit a couple balls here, go to P9 and hold our finish until the ball hits the ground. Okay, ready? 1001, 1002, 1003. This time I'm going to make sure I hold my finish there till P9. Again. 1001, yeah, 1001, 1002, 1003.
Someone's shaking.
Okay, one more. Let's have you guys hit this ball here, okay? So when they hit these balls, I mean, if you look at it, something looks right, you have to come up with a definition of what does look right. What looks good? Why are these guys always on balance? Go ahead. Ready? Okay. 1001, 1002, 1003. Okay. I want to share a couple more ideas with you. I've known Terry for, let's see, almost a year now, right? Maybe about a year? Okay. And why don't you tell them a little bit, how long did it take you before you understood the positions and when you felt you had a pretty good feel of what was taking place?
Pretty much it took me about, no more than a couple lessons really.
Yeah.
To get the full
framework.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And what's neat about it is that when you're, let's accept the ball one more time, okay? Is that when I look at, for instance, Terry and Kent here, the first thing I'm going to look at when they set up at address, once I know the alignments are maintained properly, go ahead, ready? Okay. When they go to the top of the swing, this right knee must stay braced, because when they set up, the weight is in the center of their gravity, in the center of the foot here in the middle. If this right leg straightens out too much, it throws the weight too much back to the heels. This makes the hips turn too much. Go to the top of your swing. Straighten the right leg out. Okay. This makes the hips turn almost 60, 70 degrees. This will make the shoulders turn about maybe 110 to 125 degrees. So if the head turns too much, then it starts to move the head around like this. And remember the kid standing up, if the head moves just a little bit too much, right, you start losing your balance. So if the right leg straightens out too much, the hips turn too much, then the shoulders turn too much and moves the head too much, you can't keep your eyes on the ball now. So in the downswing, you'll make compensations. And Today, you'll see almost every golf book that's written. They're all saying how this right knee has to stay bent. And there's been quite a few players who have said that. Nicklaus did a book called Golf My Way that came out back in the, I think, early 1970s. And one of the points he stressed on that was why that right leg has to stay braced like that. It's very, very true. Hogan said the same thing. Go ahead, sit up again. So if you watch here, they're going to hit a ball, and you watch Kent's right knee, you'll see how that knee at the top of the swing, Kent, go to the top of the swing. Okay? You're going to have here about a 20 to 25 degree angle here. This straightens out. This angle now will go to about 65 or 70 along with the hip. Okay? That makes the shoulders turn too much. Go ahead. All right, go from P1 to P4, you guys. Okay? You'll see there's how the knees here are going to basically be flexed the same amount. I mean, the same as the dress here. As it goes to the top, it's going to stay almost the same flex. The tendency is for a lot of people is they'll want to straighten this out. Start over again. Okay. One more time. Both of you can. Go ahead. P1 to P4. Okay. All right. Start it one more time. All right. Go to the top. P4. Okay. Start it one more time. Let's have you hit it. So go ahead and watch the right knee here again. If it goes to P4, if it stays flexed, or does it straighten it out? All right. Go ahead. 1001, 1002, 1003. Okay. All right, one more.
Those Hogan clubs make them go right.
Pardon me?
It must be those Hogan clubs that make them go right. That's where you're aiming, I guess.
Pick a target.
Redwoods. All right.
Okay, now, so in the ball, the lower part of the body, the main joint is the right knee. This has to stay flexed. When he goes to the top of the swing, okay, you go to the top of the swing, okay? The main joint is the right elbow, okay? At the top of the swing, there's three responsibilities for the right elbow. Terry, tell them what they are. Let's do a test, let's see now.
The right elbow?
Yeah, yeah, right here. Come show them. What are the three responsibilities?
It's supposed to be 90 degrees bent this way,
Right,
5 inches away from the right rib cage,
right.
and in position 1.
And what is position one?
It's closer to your sternum rather than out like this, which is
Right.
position 3.
So there's right.
You don't want to climb out.
See, because if you set up at a dress, and if your right elbow is quote inward at a dress like this, Hogan's book said you want to get your elbows in as close as you can. You don't want to do that because it gets you too much and it changes the tension of the muscles like this, and your forearms will turn too much. The elbows have to be out slightly, towards just to the right of the rib. I mean the hip sockets. Because when you go from P1 dress and you go to P4, position 4 at the top, if the right elbow starts flying like this, the club shaft goes more vertical to the ground. And if the club shaft goes more vertical, the shoulders start going more vertical like this. Then it throws the neck tilts off. Okay? So that's just one joint with the right elbow is what position it's in. So when they go to the top of the swing like this, the right elbow has to be downward and inward. Hogan said that. 2 is the right elbow has to be at about a 90 degree angle. And the reason for that is to keep the left arm away from the chest. If the right elbow bends too much like this, then you got that club dropping behind over here. And then in the downswing, the brain's going to have to make the compensation. It makes it too tough. And this is why the game is so hard, because as you get older, you don't have the flexibility to keep everything out there, okay? So that's why the magazines and these books say, yes, get our tapes and buy our books, and your handicap's going to go down lower. Not true. Now, they ought to do some research on putting, because putting is a very simple movement like this, but somehow, don't ask me about it.
We got a video.
Putting should be under the label Mysteries in the Universe Unknown. Okay, stop again. So when they go to the top of their swing, there's the right knee, lower part of the body. The upper part of the body is the right elbow. Okay, go ahead, go to the top. All right. You can go ahead and check the elbow. The elbow is going to be about 4 to 5 inches away. The elbow is going to be down. It's going to be a 90 degree angle here. All right. Same thing here again. Elbow is going to be down. Now, watch this. If I sit up at a dress, and if I have my left arm vertical like this, and if I just turn my shoulders 90 degrees as such, like here, like this, my left arm, when it's parallel to the ground, we call that P3, it's extended. If I put my right arm out, put it down here like this, bang, you're going to be 4 to 5 inches away, okay? The old saying that, nah, you don't have to have your left arm straight, you better have your left arm straight. And one of the reasons why is because there's things in how the brain coordinates the movement that's called tonic reflexes. Is that if you go to the top of your swing, your left elbow bends like this, you take the stretch out of the muscles. It's called the tonic reflex. And if you take that out, when you start down like this, the brain loses its orientation of where you are and where you're moving. And you want to try to keep the alignment, the stretch. This is why this has to stay at a 90-degree angle and away from the body, so that the muscles are stretched not only at address, but while you're going to the top of the swing. The old saying says, yeah, you got to be very relaxed at the dress position and have no tension. You want to have the tension, because that's how the brain coordinates the movement. Example is, let's have you guys set up to the ball. Okay? All right, now watch this. Ready? You tell me when you're ready to go. Okay? Ready? All right, now watch. Let's say I'm going to put 5 pounds of pressure on him like this. You can see how much he's going to waver here. Okay? 5 pounds of pressure. See how much you wavered? Okay? Again. Ready? All right. Same thing again. Okay, see how much the heels came a little bit off? All right, now watch. Now this time when you set up, press down on your legs as hard as you can into the ground, okay? I'm gonna double the pressure, okay? Here's 5 pounds again. Press as hard as you can, okay? What happens is, press again, press down, okay? You can just put here like this and start pressing. It's amazing the different structuring you have. This is the position that the shortstops get into, the third baseman, when the ball's ready to be hit, they're bouncing like this, just like the tennis players. Why? Because if they're going to move left or right and make the movement, it's the same thing in the golf swing. When you're setting up there, you have a lower center of gravity, and the more stretched you are, the easier for the brain to coordinate where you're moving. When you get in, you kind of set in here like this, and kind of set up, and kind of take this thing up here like this, okay? Tough game, right? And, okay, so let's have you set up one more time. Right. Actually, once you stand behind me. All right. So we discussed the right knee, and now we're going to show the right elbow again. Let's go 1 to 4. Okay. Back to 6. Back to 4. Back to 6. Back to 1. Okay. All right. We're going to do one more drill here, and then we'll hit a couple little drives or something. We're going to both set up here like this. Ready? All 3 of us. Okay? We're going to go from P1 to P2. Okay? Now, if you look at Terry, you see how his right arm here is lined up right now way inside the golf ball right here. Same thing with Ken. Way inside the golf ball. Okay? 4 P4. Okay? We're up to P4. Now come down to P6. Okay? Now, you see how their right arm is still lined up right here, almost the same angle they were at P2. But in the golf swing, do it again. When they're actually swinging the club and they come down to P6, now you guys both point your right forearm. Go 1 to 4. Start over again. Okay, start over again. Okay. All right, go 1 to 4. All right, now you're going to come down to P6 and point your right forearm at the ball. Okay, turn it a little bit too high. All right, okay, is your right forearm pointing at the ball? Good. All right. So you'll see that when they come in the downswing, the right forearm is going to point almost directly at the golf ball. Okay. You'll find out next time you go back and review your videotapes, if this is the golf ball like this, one of the things you want to check to see is your right forearm coming in here like this, or is it over here this way then down? Okay. What we're going to do here, we're going to go from P1 to P4. Okay, ready, Ken? All right. Okay. Okay, 1 to 2. Okay, then 2 to 4. Okay. 4 to 6. Point your right forearm at the ball. Okay. Back up to 4. Okay, down to 6. Okay, we're going to go back up to 4 and then hit it. Ready? Go. All right. Let's try one more. This is a real good drill for you to be able to just see the rotation. That once you go 1 to 2, okay, 1 to 2, okay, 2 to 4, Okay, 4 to 6. All right. Forearms pointing at the ball. Ready? Go up to P4, then hit it. Go. All right. What this drill will teach you is this. You see how smooth the rotation is. You don't have to make any compensation with your hands. You don't have to try to reroute anything. As long as you maintain these tilts. Let me hit a ball here for you. Okay. As long as you maintain these tilts, you go 1 to 4, then down to 6 like this. Rotate. See, the question is, why do you have to have balance? You have to control balance so that when you're swinging the club, there's a certain posture you're going to maintain at address from here to the top, and you come on down to impact. On the downswing, this tilt you have forward also is going to shift to the right as well. And then as you come into follow through like this, then the tilt's going to shift backwards. So there's 3 different tilts that go on during the swing, and you got to keep your head still. This is why the game's so hard. And so this research was to be able to map out how the feet are to be aligned, 2 ankle joints, 2 knee joints, 2 hip joints, 2 wrist joints, 2 elbow joints, 2 shoulder joints. Those are 12 joints. They're all set up to stabilize the 13th joint, the head neck setup. Because if you sit over here like this, you take that club back and start going this way. Okay.
Hey, go serious.
You can get away with it, but when the pressure's on, it's a funny game. Some of you might remember this. Remember Johnny Miller was in a playoff with Jack Nicklaus at Pebble Beach about 1977. Okay? Okay. Bill, what do you do? Okay. Johnny Miller got up. Miller walked into the shot like this. Miller's in here like this. At the time, he's the king of the castle. And Miller comes up and he goes, wham, and he flat shanked it. All right. Johnny Miller has said every time he's ever been in the same situation again, in his head, every pressure situation, what's he thinking about? Yeah. Okay. And when I told that to some of these the neuroscientists, one fellow from Canada, by the way, his name is Dr. Vernon Brooks at the University of Western Ontario. Dr. Brooks, he is the world's expert on motor control behavior, which is how the muscles in the brain and body coordinate movement. And one of the questions was, I asked him about that. You know, how does the brain process information in memory banks? All those things. It's amazing. You stand over there, and if you get traumatized enough on a certain shot or a certain hole, every time you come to 18, somehow for some reason you just keep missing 3-footers, but the first 17 holes you made everything. You miss one on 18, don't you do it again before you start developing a phobia about it. Why'd you tap him on the shoulder? Okay. But see, the thing is, you have to learn to overcome that if you can. And that's with concentration. Another thing I want to share with you also that we learned from Dr. Brooks was the importance of your diet. This is something that you should listen very carefully to. Your diet, when you are playing, if your hydration levels drop, your water levels drop, it has an effect on the limbic system where the emotional memory circuits are stored. If your hydration levels drop, the body automatically starts manufacturing more adrenaline. The more adrenaline goes in your system, then what happens is your body starts to go into stages of what they call physiological shock. The blood leaves the extremities, your hands start shaking, the blood goes to the organs of the body, and before you know it, all you know is a couple shots before, everything just felt so loose and easy. Now you're standing over the ball and your arms feel like sledgehammers, okay? And you can't, it's tough. You guys ever feel that way? What? Yeah. Okay. So that's why it's important that in your junior golf tournaments as you're playing, or even in college matches, you got to tell the coaches to get the water out there. You got to be drinking as much water as you can. I mean, you got to go to the bathroom every other hole. You got to keep drinking water all day, all night long. Number 2 is also then your glycogen storage, your sugar level storage, not candy bar stuff, but your fruits and things like that. You must eat the raisins to get your sugar levels up, because if your sugar levels drop and your adrenaline and your hydration levels drop, you just feel like this all the time. Correct. And sometimes you're really not scared of the shot, but your sugar level, hydration levels will drop, and all these physiological changes are taking place in the body. For instance, do you drink water when you play? A little bit? What? But they should have water. And that's one of the things that has really changed the last 3 years on the tours, that they've got water every hole. They've got all the snacks and the fruits and everything out there, because the players, their education about the diet and how it's tied to the golf swing is very influential. Okay, let's try a couple more swings. Okay. All right, we're going to hold it at P9 one more time. 1001, 1002, 1003. And let's go to a couple of drivers. You guys mind some driving? Let's do that. And had an injury, he had to quit playing. And so he started playing golf. And 4 or 5 years later, turned professional, went out there and played. And his deal was, when he played baseball, he had a lot of home runs, which is a true story. And in golf, every time he stands over the ball, it doesn't matter how narrow the hole is in Japan, because they got the golf course up in the mountain, he hits the driver. I'm not kidding. He'll tee it up this high. He's got to tee it this high and hits driver every hole. And if you remember when Tom Kite was leading the U.S. Open a year ago? Where was the tournament? Rochester, right? You remember Jumbo? Jumbo came to there was a par 3 number 15 where Kite hit in the water right. He made double bogey. You don't remember that? Well, the world sport, Jumbo had the lead. Jumbo on the 14th hole, I hit 5-iron off the tee. Well, Jumbo got over there and hit driver off the last day. Okay? He hit it right, and then he chipped it out under the trees, up the hill, then he hit it 35 yards over the creek. Okay, he made I think he made 6 on the hole. Okay? And, but every time he stands over, he'll take his driver out and he'll hit bombs away. It's really special to see. Okay? All right, ready? All right, now what? Now bear in mind now, the longer the club shaft gets, basic rules here are, you want to see, does the player come out of the tilts, or does he maintain the tilts like this, right? Right? And let me see if they want practice swing, and I'm going to tell you one more talk. Right? Go P1, P4, you guys, go ahead. 1 to 4. All right, go to P9, go. All right, now watch. See this right foot here? Yeah, see how this right foot? Shut it down a little bit more time. Okay. This right foot, do it again. Okay, P1 to P4. Okay. 4, go P9, go. Okay. Now, Kent's right foot is coming up. He's making an error there. Okay. His right foot has to stay inward like this. Okay. Okay. This right foot has to stay inward. Now the question is, why? Because, Tara, let's see if they practice swing. Swing as hard as you can. Take your right foot and bring it all the way up and bring it over to this position right there. Okay? You can't do the same thing. All right? And try to maintain your second and third tilts. You guys do me a favor, sir. They don't know what I'm going to do here. Let's say you walk out there 15 yards, put your hands over here. Okay. Listen, I've told these guys a lot of stuff. I haven't told them this one. All right, now watch. All right. The thing is, to maintain these tilts going like this right heel has to stay down and inward. And the reason for that is, if this goes out, what happens is the center of gravity shifts, because your body's put to the right, you're going to lose your balance and fall this way. So the more their right foot goes like this, if they try to maintain the tilt, they're going to fall down, right? Or you'll see them lose their balance. So what they automatically do and make the compensation is when they come to impact, if the right foot's out this way, they'll bring their body up back to the straight axis to the ground like this. So we're going to have them move their right foot out like this and see if they can maintain their tilt, or do they come up like this. Okay. And by the way, this is another point that you watch on TV. all the guys are starting to do this now as well. Okay, this right heel's got to stay down on it. Okay, ready? Go ahead. All right, now this time you're both going to take your right foot and move it from the ground to the 90-degree angle to about 120 degrees outward that way. On a practice match. Okay? All right? Okay. All right, 1001, 1002. By the way, why don't you guys get closer together? Okay. There we go. Okay, 1001, 1002, 1003. Go. All right. They did pretty good, right? All right, do it again.
How long have you been in the room?
Okay, now this time you're going to do the ball. Put the ball down. Okay. Yeah, same thing. All right, here we go. 1001, 1002, 1003. You did pretty good, didn't you? Okay. All right. Now, I'll give you a cop-out answer. The tendency is, no, but if you look on TV, you'll see that any of the players, let me use the ball. You'll see that if any of most of the players, if they're lined up like this, and if the right foot goes like this, the right shoulder will come up, and as a way to stabilize the body, and the head will not stay tilted. If you watch Sebi, now Sebi's a very dear friend of mine, and one of Sebi's problems has been for quite a few years now. Sebi's getting that age where Sebi turned pro in 16. A lot of the guys from the tour don't turn professional until about 22, 23. Sebi's about 30, 31. Okay. So he's at that stage right now where the degeneration is taking place. Okay. I'm not kidding, man. And he's not a drinker either, by the way. Just got married. Not a drinker. But
That's what's wrong with me. I'm married.
what's that?
That's what's wrong with me. I'm married.
No, you got married to a nice
These
girl.
guys. That's
But
degeneration.
one of the things that he does is that he sets up fine here like this. He goes to the top, but then when he comes down like this, see his head falls way back to the right. His neck, the head is set forward 20 degrees. It's going to be falling to the right about 5 degrees. It's going to be rotated about 5 to 10 degrees like this. What he will do, he'll set up like this. He'll go to the top, and then on the downswing, he'll shift his head like this. So what happens is his eyes, draw a map right across the parallel line to the eyes here. You've got to keep your eyes parallel or a little bit inside of what your target or plane line is like this. Because if this is your target line or your plane line, and your eye, your neck axis, it's tilted to the right slightly, now the eyes are off like this. The reason why is so that the hands and the shoulders will go inside. If you tilt your head the other way like this, now your hands will go outside, okay? And you don't want to do that. One of the things Sebi does, Sebi will, when up with the ball, he'll be firing like this, go to the top, and then when he changes direction, his head goes back this way. His eyes are lined up like that. And so when he comes down to impact, his club head and his hands are going too far inside out. So what does he do? He pulls his arm left. That's why I see these pull hooks all the time. And you know what's amazing is, this is a seminar here. I've been lining this up to the right. I hear everybody back Who says we all don't think the same? Okay. Is that, like Sebi, you can line it up to the right, come down and move your head this way, and move your arms left. You can pull the left trees like this. Okay.
I can do that. I just never know when.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I mean, so
It's always a
if you want to play
surprise.
hooks, you can do that. You can. Guy says, yeah, I line it up right, And then when I came down, I stayed this way, but I just moved my arms left. And you get hooks that way. You can hit little hooks or big hooks. It's really amazing. You can take it like this, take that thing like that, and hit what we call on the tour, the belly Casper rub-a-dub shot. What's that? Now, watch. What we tried to do for 6 years was to think of every conceivable way to put curvature on the ball. You ever notice how all these golf books are written? Guys say, yeah, just keep the club face square at impact. That's all they say, don't they? Don't they? I mean, every one. I mean, Ledbetter just came out with a book. I don't want to talk about it, like you said. They're great. They will make you laugh. And but when it comes to doing those kind of tips, Frank Circadian, who's been doing CBS golf for 35 years, he'll sit behind his desk. He really runs golf, by the way. He'll sit behind his desk. He's about this tall. He's the greatest guy in golf. I love him more than anybody in the game. Frank will come up and Kenny will sit down and say, okay, what's our tip today? And they got their crews. Everybody's out on the green ready to go. They don't know. They have no idea. They just make something up. I swear on my life. They just make it up, okay? And
I believe that.
what's that?
I believe that without a doubt.
I swear it's the truth. Some of the stuff they do is so poor and so bad, right? And now Gary McCord is one of our guys. And Gary's been involved. How long has he been involved? 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. So, can you slice it? You will not slice it if you cross it over? Well, okay. If I'm aiming, let's say, those trees to that way, and if I take this club up and cross it over, now you see how this club is pointed to right now? What if I brought it straight down each side out across the line? With this ball sliced, here it goes up.
All set,
Okay, now, so they do articles. Did you hear a sound?
Yeah. Right over where that
They can
lady's
sue
laying.
golf magazine. Okay.
Really is a park there.
So the question is, some of the stuff, the information that gets out to the consumer, basically, all they do that stuff in the magazine, they don't care about the education of the material. All they care is to sell magazines. That's the bottom line. And one of the things that with our research stuff, 3 years ago, I did a cover story with Golf Digest, and they wanted me to take our research stuff and start putting it in their magazine. I would not do it, and because I'm pretty serious about this stuff, about at least getting the stuff off to the people and getting some good information. One of the things we hope to do next year is to, when the books and tapes start selling, is to come out with their own golf magazine and nobody can advertise it. And in that magazine, we're also going to be doing a bunch of consumer advocacy testing, equipment, and resorts, articles for the kids, so that when you do read it, it's the same stuff and you don't have to be buying these magazines forever and ever. Because you learn, hopefully, right the first time. And so later on, you will not have to be making these major compensations. Okay.
What age do you want the kids to start?
The kids, if you start them at, let's say 4 years old, they play soccer from the time they're 4 until they're about 16. So they learn the coordination of the movement of their feet and their eyes, and the trunk of the body. Okay? Elijah Watt, who's a basketball player for Houston. Okay. What did I say, Elijah Watt? He, great soccer player. Okay? And I think that the next generation of some of the great athletes are going to be a lot of the kids who are playing soccer in the United States. The kids should play soccer till they're about 15 or 16. They get about 8 or 9, they should be start playing the other sports, the baseball and stuff, and start golf. And just a little bit under 10 years old. One of the things I would like to be able to see is this golf ball weighs, let's say, anybody know how much the weight of a golf ball is?
1.62.
1.68 grams or something, right? Okay. So if this ball, the weight of this ball is 1.68 grams, right? Now let's say you take a kid that's 8 years old, or let's say a woman that's not biologically as strong as a man is, right? Well, the ball weighs the same weight for the women it does for the men. We might be 2 or 3 times stronger than the girls. One of the things I would just love to do as a pet project is get some little 8-year-old kid and jack the golf ball up, so that if you can break down the ratio, so that the ball will go the same distance as we would hit as adults. Do you think if you when you're 8 or 9 years old, you can barely get the ball off the ground? Do you think you would try more hard? What's that? Would it be more fascinating? Think so? Okay, definitely. So,
The weight's 1.62.
1.62.
The diameter's 1.62.
I was doing something right about that. Okay, so let's back up just a little bit. Okay. We're going to hit these balls at this red flag, the house at the back. There was a little fade here, okay? Right? And what you're going to maintain again, and look for, is that are we maintaining our tilt? Where is this right heel? Okay. And the other point is let's say we both take fractions of equipment. Okay. Is P1 to P4. All right, go to P9. Quickly go. All right. See the little space between the knees here, like this. All right. The knees have to be pinched inward, because when the club shaft's parallel to the ground here, the right knee, when it's released to go into impact, it's got to come inward and towards your center of gravity point, bang, and the rotation takes place. The right knee has to get ahead of the right hip, and then the right ankle has to be released to allow the right knee to keep moving, which allows the hips to keep rotating. Right? And in a second here, we're going to take about 4 or 5 of the kids and let them start hitting some of the balls, and we're going to make some corrections for them very quickly, and we'll see how fast they adapt. Go ahead. All right. The flag. All right. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Yeah. Okay. How far is it? You ready? Now, you folks in the background there, if you see anything wrong with some of our alignments or something, let's have you point them out to us. Okay? And you know what you guys do here? Pick out one little something wrong that you're doing. You just do what you think something's wrong. Let's see if they can pick up on it. Okay, we're going to test you. Here we go. Yeah, I'm going to do something wrong too. P9. Okay? And at P9, the goal here is to get the club shaft where it's parallel to the ears, and the left elbow has to be in a straight line right here like this, okay, to the left hip right here. You don't want to be spinning around like this, okay? And also from your view here, the knee, the hip, and the right shoulder has to be behind the right hip. All right, here we go. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Somebody did it way right. Okay. See any errors?
Yeah, Mac was exhaling.
One more.
Call it on.
Here we go.
That was secret.
Here we go.
That was great.
1,001, 1,002, 1,003.
Elbows.
What you guys do wrong? Yes. Anybody seen the error that Terry made? All right, you take a swing here. Go ahead. Yeah, you come back. Let's watch Terry do one swing. Hit the ball, Terry.
Do something wrong?
Make an error? Make one error?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Anybody say anything? How about his elbow? Elbow. Just too high or something?
Where should it be?
Now, watch. We have 10 minutes, okay? And we're going to do something. Let's have 5 volunteers. Who wants to come up? Kids. Let's go.
David, get up.
You got club? You got club? Yeah, right here. Okay.
Carson. Carson.
Wrap up.
What was that?
You want the longest driver here? Yeah!
708. What are you? We're the first.
Why don't you grab this stuff? Let's get you all lined up in a straight line. We got 7 minutes. Let's line up. Let's get 5 of you lined up in a straight line.
Yeah, that was it.
Church Center over here. Where's Jeff? Where's Jeff? Right here. All right. Okay, quickly, let's go. Okay.
Some room on the left there.
All right, now, hold it. All right. When you guys go ahead and hit the golf ball, and then just hold your finish till the ball hits the ground. So you got about 4 or 5 seconds, right? All right. Now you know some of the stuff we talked about, the tilts and the arms and everything else, right? Sorry. Let's stand over. You take care of those 2 guys. Okay, you take these 2 and I'll take these 2. Okay. All right. Let's set up at address. Ready? Just take your dress position. All right. Make an assessment of this kid. Quick. From this angle. Okay. Set the ball. You want me to aim or something? No, just try it. No, don't aim. That's pretty good, right? Okay. All right. What club you hitting here? 7 rounds. This kid's too upright, with his upper part of his bottom. All right. Looks good. Look, he looks the best so far. Okay. All right. Do it again. Go to the top of your swing. All right. Go to the top. Just go to the top. Hold the swing. Right. Okay. Now, look at this. There's angles here and here. Right elbow. This could be down here a little bit. Left arm parallel. Okay. Keep your arm looking up. Okay. Do it again. Go to the top. Okay. Alright. Okay, now. Hold it there. Watch. Now, see this? See his grip here? See how this club is kind of laid off again? Hit this ball. Go ahead. Just one swing. Go ahead. Alright? Hit this ball. Okay. Ready? Go ahead, let's go. Alright. Alright, now, watch. Okay, now, you see how his club shaft was laid off the top? Did y'all see that? Alright, now, why is that? Alright. Let's have you aim this direction, okay? Aim this one.
Upright and shoulder turn.
Okay. Aim a little more this way. A little more. Okay, now. Whenever a player has the club laid off at the top like this, the first thing is the most important thing in the whole golf swing is the grip, okay? And the fact is, if a player usually lays it off at the top, it's because his left hand is too weak on the club shaft. The left hand has to be turned over at least 45 degrees and in the fingers. And the right hand must be on the right side of the club shaft. When a lot of the people lay the club up, like Hogan laid it off at the top, right? Okay? Because whenever you have a weak left hand and it's in the palm of the hand, or the right hand is too weak, if I take it up the top here like this, can I see where the club shaft laid off? Okay? That's all because just of the grip. And if I try to square it up like this, see how this starts to bend back here? This is the weakest possible structural position you put your left wrist in. All this square to square stuff is not what you want to do. Why? Because the more the wrist gets like this, you can't cock the wrist anymore. The more Hogan said it had to be bent, Yes, then you can cock your wrist more. So, so now see how his right hand's too much on top here? This has to be turned over a little bit more to the right, okay? Now this still, his next finger's got to be extended a little bit more down, okay? And your left hand's got to go.
Look at it, Tom.
I know, this is tough.
Now let's see if he lays it off the same. Go ahead. Go at the top. Did it square up a little bit better?
Yeah, a bit.
Okay.
Still laid off.
Make your left hand stronger this time, and your right hand stronger. Okay. Extend your index finger down the shaft a little more. Okay, there you go. All right, do it again. Go to the top. Ready, go. See how it starts to square up?
Yeah.
Okay, do it. Make it even stronger. And make sure you turn your shoulders 90 degrees. Okay. Move your index finger down the shaft. Inferiority. Ready? Go to the top. Now watch what happens here. Look at this. See this?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So when you do the study we did on the player, where you see the club shaft is, a lot of times just based on where the grip is. And if the grip is bad, ooh, you do not want your hands rotating too much. So the grip is really important. Okay. Sorry. All right. Let's have you hit the ball this time. Okay. Go ahead. Here you go. Everybody's gonna set up. 2 more minutes and we're finished. All right. Go ahead and hit it. 1001, and then hold your finish. Take it back to 1003. 1001, 1002, 1003. Go. Okay.
Ooh.
All right. One more time. Don't move until the ball hits the ground.
Here I wasn't over there.
Okay, ready? 1001, 1002, hold your finish at P9, 1003, go. Okay? Look at this heel here. This heel looks pretty good. This heel is a little bit too out. Change it down. Let's do one more. Got to keep your shoulders tilted more under. Okay? What's that? Okay. Here we go. Ready? 1001. 1002. 1003. Go. Okay. Okay. Now what? Do you want him to get something about food or something? Drivers. All right, come on. Hit that. You got a contest?
Driver's with you.
Yeah, left-handed.
Yeah, left. You got it. Where's my clubs?
There's a,
Right there. Grady, I like it.
there's a left right there. You want to get the battery back to this.
Because I've had a back injury. That's been going on for a couple of years since I've been sitting in front of the computers writing these books. And but since last September, I've been practicing about anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day, left-handed, to see really how far we can go with this model, this research, and everything else. And so now I've talked a lot about the different alignments. So you tell me if it's halfway decent.
What do you like to hit better?
No, I'm better right-handed. Right? A lot of the trouble shots and stuff like that.
You carry an extra left-handed club?
Yeah. One of my pet projects that I want to be able to do is, if I have about a 5-shot lead going to the last round left-handed, I'm going to play the whole round left-handed. Okay, this is a one-arm.
Putt right-handed?
What's that?
Putt right-handed?
Yeah. I still can't putt that way either. Okay. By the way, where's Terry? Did you grab a 5 or another? Or am I good? Left-handed. Terry's done a lot of practicing left-handed also, and a lot of the kids, we've tried to get them to learn both ways. And I think in the future, a lot of the kids that learn left and right hand, the reason why to develop both hemispheres of the brain and become that much more talented. Isn't there an 8-iron there or something?
Shot, Sevy.
Where's the? We're gonna have some fun.
Slice to ball.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
You were supposed to do it.